Hi, welcome to another tutorial. This tutorial is titled the Flash logo tutorial. We're going to use Inkscape to draw it up. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to format the tutorial a little differently to some of our others, in that there's quite a lot of work involved in this particular piece of work. So what we were thinking about doing is sort of generally focusing in on some of the more complex aspects of the logo, and give you a little insight on how we actually built the piece of artwork. Before we get started, we actually look at this, I just want to draw your attention to where you can find the tutorial and all the resources as per usual. By going to cutcorner.co.uk, our website. The link will be found under this video if you find this on YouTube, within the description. Design tips and tutorials, and you should find it within our recent news design tips tutorials feed here. And the second thing we'd like to mention is that we obviously value feedback from people who look at our work and use our work to, not just from a client's perspective in terms of designing for them, but those people who are learning from us with the tips and tricks that we're throwing out there through YouTube. Please, we're relatively thick-skinned, and we appreciate feedback in all forms in terms of the quality of these tutorials that we're putting out there, and really like to know what you think about them. To do so, can we ask you, if you click onto our channel, Cut Corner Studio, you will find a Google Plus icon on the cover. If you click on this, this takes us through to our About page, which is our Google Plus business page, and to the right here we've got a review summary, so as you can see some of our clients have already put some reviews down, and just click write a review and tell us what you thought of the tutorials that you've watched. It'd be really appreciated. Okay, so to start, what we're going to now do is move into how we went about designing the Flash logo. What we do want to mention is that we have published several basic tutorials in the past that relate to Inkscape, which is the software you're going to use today. Some of the stuff that we've mentioned and shown in past tutorials, rather than go over it again within this particular tutorial, what we'd like to do is reference where you might find these techniques in some of our past tutorials. So for example, setting up your document in Inkscape, which you'll see that we've done here, you'll learn how to do, if you watch, how to create a Green Lantern logo, where we focus really in on how we went about doing that. So we're now going to start, and we hope you enjoy the tutorial. Okay, when you go to the web page, and when you go to our blog post about this particular piece of work, you'll see download the tutorial resources. So I just want to highlight what's in that file. If you go into once you've downloaded it, you'll get a Flash file called Flash Tutorials, zip file, sorry, called Flash Tutorials. I'm all tongue-tied this afternoon. If you go into that, once you've extracted it, if you open up Flash Tutorial, you'll see four assets that we're going to use for this particular tutorial, and some of the things that we've done to be able to build this. First and foremost is obviously the final product that you're looking to work towards, which is the Flash logo, then where we've used a few extra effects to make it look a little bit flashier, to use a term. You've got the final Flash logo.svg, the actual final product that we worked on and created. I hope that you'll create your own. We've got a red texture that you could use to overlay in GIMP, which we have done on several occasions with the Batman desktop wallpaper tutorial, and also I think we used the same technique when we created the Green Lantern as well, and also using the search tools on Google, we found this particular logo that's been labelled as reusable, and we're going to use that in this particular tutorial also. So to get started, I'm going to highlight a couple of things that we did, or a couple of processes that we completed to be able to get this particular logo finished. I think the first thing that you may be curious as to how we did it was this particular Flash logo, this Flash element here. Okay, so how did we create this sort of thunderbolt shape? It's quite easy really. So if you go to File and Import, and what we're going to do is just go to our desktop and the Flash tutorial file. What I'm looking for is that Flash logo template, and this is how we did it. So if you select it, click open, and in comes the logo. I'm just going to click this icon here, which seems to fit the selection. We selected this image, so we're just going to zoom into it. And what we're going to use is the Bezier Curves tool. We used this in the Green Lantern tutorial as well, so but it's very straightforward. Just click on that, and it's almost like a dot-to-dot process. To start at the top and follow the line of this particular flash, thunderbolt sort of shape, and I'm just going to complete that until we get to the end. And one thing you have to be careful of is, if you notice there is a square where you started the line, you need to make sure that the final element that I'm sort of wiggling about here actually stops at that square, and then what you'll then get is a black outline of the shape. So now if I scroll through to say yellow, and now if I hover over the stroke box here and just right click and remove stroke, I now have my thunderbolt in place, and I don't really need that template anymore, so I'm just going to delete it and bring it out. And what you'll then notice is that I've got that flash thunderbolt that needed for the main element of the logo. I'm just going to padlock it so it doesn't warp when I scale it, and I can sort of make it as big as I want. Okay, now I've actually done this element and then shown you how to do that. One of the things that you'll notice about this particular logo is there's a kind of gradient that runs through it to give the element a little bit more depth. And the way I did that was if I click on the gradient tool here, with the thunderbolt selected, and rather than create a linear gradient, I'm actually going to create a radial, and with that box selected and checked, what I'm going to do is start in the middle with, again, the thunderbolt selected. It has to be selected. If I click down in the middle, you'll notice then that we start to lose the top parts of it. Don't be too alarmed by that. What I'm now going to do is just select one of these outer nodes, and I'm just going to find a slightly darker colour to finish it off. Now that's an orange. That's not really what I'm looking for. So if I just pull this screen over, you'll see next to this colour bar here, there's a little arrow that points to the left. If I click on that, things like all the different, there are absolutely loads of colour libraries in this software. It's fantastic. There's one called gold. If I click on gold, I can select a colour gold, which I think would be quite apt for this particular logo. And then I'm just going to make this middle bit by selecting the square lighter. So if I just select a lighter version of gold, that's how I created that gold effect. Now what you'll also notice with this particular flash logo is that there's a kind of one element of it that's a bit thicker. And the way I did that was I right clicked on the actual original thunderbolt element and click duplicate. Now what I'm also doing with my keypad, which you can't see at the moment, is I'm just going to hold down Control and click 0. And what you'll notice is the shape offsets. Now when I change that colour to a slightly darker one, go object lower to bottom, it then becomes an outline, which is really useful for what we want it to do. And I'm just going to alter the opacity to about 50 down here in the box, and that then means that when I have a background, you'll notice that I just raise that to the top so you can see it over the background. See now that it actually sits over the top quite nicely. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do, the next thing we did to be able to make this logo are these rings. Again, very easy, but I'm going to use the grid. Tutorial about the Green Lantern is how we created the grid spacing to get it right. I'm just going to select my circle and create myself a circle. And then what I'm also going to do, just to make sure that I can see it properly, is change the opacity from 50 to 100. And what I'm going to do now is right click and duplicate it again, and holding down Shift, I'm just going to scale it a little bit more and change the colour of it so you can see. Using my keypad with my direction, my arrow buttons, I'm just going to move it over like so, just so it's like off center and just up towards the top. Select both of them, shapes at once, go to path and difference. Now again, we showed you this in the Green Lantern logo. There was a load of stuff that we showed you in that one. And just to give it a little bit more depth, just like we did with the actual Thunderbolt, we can use the gradient tool, the radial gradient selected, start in the middle and pull outwards, and then it should give us a bit more of a kind of effect, kind of movement, a bit more sort of spacey look that we need for this. And then to finish it off, you see there's more than one ring there. I'm just going to go Control and D. Well, in fact, actually, let's follow the original pattern. I'm going to right click and duplicate, and then I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to scale and pull this a little bit to the side. Now if I select both and go Object and Group, I've then got that kind of ringed effect that you get from this one, from the original. Okay, the last aspect of this tutorial is this kind of blurred flash that runs across the logo that I thought would be a nice element to finish this piece off with. So the way we did that was creating a circle, but rather than create a circle this time, create a kind of very, very, very shallow oval, very wide and shallow. And keeping with the gold again, and still with the opacity at 100, making sure that it's selected, just picked a very light gold to work with, and as you can see, we positioned it diagonally across the logo. The way we did that was just making sure that this element is selected. Click it one more time with your left button, and you'll notice that the arrows change from kind of a scale to a rotate. Now if I keep that top right one down, pull it up, it then rotates around, and then what that allows me then to do is to blur it. And the way we blur it is clicking on the Object, Colors and Gradients, Stroke Width, Arrowhead, etc, etc, etc tool here, and you'll have a setting here that indicates how much blur you want to add on to the elements. If I just click forward a few, I'm going to get to about 5. I think I'm going to try 5 exactly. You'll then see that we've been able to create that blurred effect. Now I'm going to select all of them again. I'm going to go to Object and Group to keep them all together. Just to showcase them, I'll group them too. Take that, put that over there for now. Now if I move that onto the front there. Now what you might notice is that, or you might be wondering, is how you align things on the page. There is a way of doing that. Align and distribute objects. If you click on this icon here, making sure it's relative to the page. Here you've got some other options here, but if you click Page and select Center on a vertical axis and Center on a horizontal axis, that will place your Flash logo directly in the middle of the page. That is effectively how we went about building the Flash logo. Got a bit tongue-tied during the middle of that one, but I hope you enjoyed it and I hope that you found it useful. Some nice techniques in there to allow you to add a bit more enhancement and depth to any vector artwork that you do. And please do make sure that you review these tutorials by going through our Google Plus page. And if you enjoyed these tutorials, please subscribe via the blog post that you may be reading this from, or on the YouTube channel that you're watching it from. Thank you very much.